How far did it go? Oh, good grief, they were shooting like that. We all here.
Order! Huh! Parade! Parade! Rest!
As we dedicate this little park, ground was broken and work was begun on this project in 1990. Two members of our dedication committee have worked with me from the inception of this project to bring it to reality. They are Ann Smith and Carol Jordan. Other members of the Brown Park Dedication Committee are Charlie Brown, Connie and Dan Cox, and Gary Weiner. We also wish to recognize members of the Marietta City Council who have been supportive of this project. I believe that Philip Goldstein is here. Philip? Do we have any other members of the council that are here? Alan Hirons is here. Also, we wish to thank Mayor Joe McBrown, who was here earlier. I don't know if he's still in the crowd or not, but Joe Mack was very instrumental. Joe Mack Wilson, excuse me, was very instrumental in getting this land for us. I'd like to give him to the Brown family. We're proud of him, but we'll keep him, Mr. Wilson. He was instrumental in us getting this land from the state, and we're very grateful for him for the help that he gave for this project. After the property was acquired, the park could not have become a reality without the help of many city employees, and I want to recognize them now, and I hope I don't leave anybody out because they've all done such a great job. We want to thank Ron Ransom and Carolyn Morris, who are members of the Parks and Recreation. At this time, we're going to ask local historian Claude Hamrick to come up and make a few brief remarks or give an overview of Governor Joseph E. Brown. After his presentation, we're going to have a visit from the governor himself, who will be introduced by Mayor W.T. Wynn.
I look forward to the opportunity to talk about Joseph Emerson Brown. I'm not sure about this mic. Can you hear me without the mic? Okay, I'll go back to the mic. Joseph Emerson Brown was born in the Pickens District in South Carolina in 1821. When he was about 15 years old, his father moved to Georgia, and when he was 19 years old, he went back to South Carolina for the purpose of attending school at the Calhoun Academy. He came back to Georgia later and settled up in Canton, Georgia, up in Cherokee County. He taught school, and he also studied law at night. He tutored a doctor's children up there for the purpose of getting tuition for the purpose of going up to Yale Law School. He graduated from Yale Law School. He was admitted to the bar in 1845. He commenced his practice of law in 1846. In 1849, he was elected to the United States Senate, not the United States Senate, excuse me, the Georgia Senate in this case. And then in 1852, he was the presidential elector for the Pierce-King candidates for the Democratic ticket. And also in 1855, he became a Superior Court judge in what was then the Blue Ridge Circuit. And then in 1857, following a heated debate concerning who would be the Democratic ticket for the governor of the state of Georgia, the brother of Alexander Stephens, Linton Stephens, nominated him for that purpose after they had gone through 21 ballots. And so we find that the Alexander Stephens people had begun to exercise an influence on Joseph's life, which would continue for the rest of his life in one way or another. He was up at his farm, and he was cutting wheat when they came up and told him that he was now the candidate for the governorship of the state of Georgia. This was a complete surprise to him. He didn't realize his name had been placed in nomination. But the interesting thing about this campaign was the fact that his opponent was Benjamin Harvey Hill, who was the most outstanding orator of that day. And he was indeed a silver-tongued orator, and no one felt that Joseph Emerson Brown would have any chance of defeating this well-known personage. But as a matter of fact, he had some ammunition in store which Harvey Hill hadn't counted on. And that was the fact that none other than Robert Toombs tutored him on how to do political debate. And when Robert Toombs tutored you, he tutored you because he was one of the most outstanding orators and indeed an outstanding person, as you know, here in Georgia, and later on became active, of course, in the Civil War in a number of ways. But during the course of this campaign, Benjamin Harvey Hill, in his silver tongue, sort of overdid it a little bit, and he accused Brown of being a slow man. And then he did something even worse than that, and that was he made fun of a quilt that some of the Cherokee ladies had made for Joseph Brown when he was running for governor. And of course, Joseph Emerson Brown, and I'm sure Robert Toombs, gave him a little hint on how to deal with this situation. And the Milledgeville newspaper ran an article, and this was later on known as the Calico Quilt Campaign. And the Milledgeville newspaper said, "Hurrah for the girls of Cherokee, the plowboy judge, and the calico quilt." And this became sort of a slogan in the campaign. And of course, Joseph Emerson Brown had to answer the fact that he was a slow man. And I read his exact words: "I'm a slow man and proud of it. Any man who holds in his hands the destinies of his people must be cautious and slow to act." So we find that in this campaign that the end result was, of course, that Joseph Emerson Brown, which I'll refer to as Joe Brown hereafter, got 57,000 votes, and the silver-tongued orator got 47,000 votes. Now you realize that these were votes made by white males, but also consider the fact that we're talking about 104,000 people that voted in the state of Georgia, which will give you a pretty good idea of the population at that particular time. Of course, Joseph Emerson Brown, or Joe Brown, went on to be the governor in 1857. He took on the banks and other special interests. He lost with the banks, but he also took an interest in earmarking some money from the Western Atlantic Railroad for the purpose of public education, which established and started Georgia off with the proper educational programs, which they had not had common education very extensively prior to that time. So this is the beginning of a long series of things that Joe Brown did during the entire course of his life to forward the interest of education, particularly the interest in public education. Also, in 1859, he was again elected by a landslide. He campaigned for at that time. Joseph Brown was a very good organizer and a very good manager, and he could see the coming of the Civil War. And so he had an appropriation from the state legislature for about $1 million for the purpose of arming the militia. And when the Civil War actually took place, Georgia, among the Confederacy, was the one of the best equipped and best prepared to put men in the field for the purpose of fighting the war. Also, before the war even started and shortly after the war, Joe Brown acted very quickly to take over the arsenal, which was at Augusta, Federal Arsenal there, and of course the United States Mint in Dahlonega, and he also took over Fort Pulaski and Fort Jackson in Savannah, Georgia. So he was very prompt and quick to act to be sure that all these federal installations were put in the hands of the Confederacy. And of course, in 1861, he was again reelected, that time his third term as governor. He did not even bother to campaign. He really did not want to be governor again, but the people elected him. And the war progressed along, of course, and then in 1863, he accused Jefferson Davis of having a plot to prevent him from being the governor of the state of Georgia again. If I were Jefferson Davis, I'd have probably done the same thing, because Joe Brown and Robert Toombs and Alexander Stephens in league with each other just about drove Jefferson Davis nuts, because he was against everything that Jefferson Davis wanted to do. And when the war was lost, these three men accused Jefferson Davis of losing the war. But nevertheless, in 1863, when he came up for his fourth and final term as governor of the state of Georgia, something that no man before or since has ever done, and will not likely do unless we change the Constitution of the state of Georgia. But anyway, in 1863, with this plot against him, the one people that got Joe Brown elected governor for that final term as war governor of the state of Georgia was the absentee ballots of the Confederate Army in the field, because all of them voted for Joe Brown. So there we find that the war is winding down. Joe Brown raised what you all know is to be Joe Brown's army. It consisted primarily of older men and young men, and he armed many of them with a thing called Joe Brown's pike. Now, Joe Brown's pike was not exactly a weapon you could use against Springfield's, Sharps, and Henrys of the Union Army. But nevertheless, these people were in the field, and they did what they could to hold up the Union Army. Of course, what they accomplished, in fact, was actually very little. But Joe Brown, during the course of the whole war, had seen that there were an adequate militia left back in Georgia for the purpose of security and for the purpose of keeping the federal certain military installations properly secured. So his own son, Little Joe, he was later called, and also later became the two-term governor of the state of Georgia in 1909 and 1912. But of course, Joe Brown did not live to see that. But his own son was in the field with Joe Brown's army. So we find that when the war ended, that Joe Brown was put in prison, as a matter of fact. He was taken to Washington, D.C., and placed in prison there for a short time. The President, Andrew Johnson, said that he would release him from prison and give him a parole, provided that he would do three things. And the three things were these. One, he would go back to Georgia. The second thing was he resigned as governor. He did these two things, and he resigned in June of 1865 as governor of the state of Georgia. But the third thing that the president had asked him to do was a little more difficult to do. And that was the fact that the promise that the president enacted from him was that he'd go back to Georgia and espouse the cause of the federal government and to tell all the people in Georgia that what they were to do was to do everything that the Reconstruction Act told them to do. Well, you can imagine how popular this put Joseph Emerson Brown. And he began to do this after another visit more actively when he went back in 1866 to Washington and saw what was going on. He came back to Georgia and kept telling the people they ought to follow the Reconstruction program. Well, by that time, that wasn't a good thing to be saying. But Joseph Brown did something else that was perhaps a little more difficult to understand. He turned Republican, and he ran for United States Senator in 1868 and was soundly defeated in that program. But this was something that's a little difficult to understand in retrospect, but perhaps in a realistic way, it's a little easier to understand, but nevertheless, he obviously didn't get elected. But then in 1870, the Reconstruction governor, Rufus Bullock, appointed him to a 12-year term as the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Georgia. Now, that's a long time, but I guess they figured that was about the length of the Reconstruction period, and they turned out not to be too far from right. But nevertheless, he kept this job for only 2 years. In December 1870, he resigned to become president of the Western Atlantic Railroad. For the next 10 years or so, he accumulated enormous fortune, did a lot of extremely nice things and good things. He used a lot of his money for noble purposes. He became, again, espousing the cause of public education. He was a trustee of the University of Georgia for about 32 years. And he also put up money for the purpose of establishing and keeping going the Southern Theological Institute. And he also put up money for establishing loan funds for needy students at the University of Georgia. During this course of time when he was accumulating his enormous fortune, and some say that he probably became the wealthiest man in the state of Georgia during this period of his business enterprises. He was a master man at organizing and managing things, so it really came no surprise that he was a huge success. During this 10-year, a decade period of time, he obviously became friends with a man named Alfred Hope Colquitt and a man named John Brown Gordon. Now, these two gentlemen had been generals in the Confederate Army, and between the three of them, they created a political group that has never been equal in the state of Georgia. From 1857 to 1897, during that period of time, except for the Reconstruction period, you find that one of these three men were either the governor of Georgia or the United States Senator from Georgia in over a 40-year span of time. Now, that's really some power. There was one prize that had escaped Joe Brown, and that was the fact that he wanted to be a United States Senator. In 1872, he had changed his ways, and he became back to the Democratic Party, seeing that Republican Party was not exactly the place he ought to be. During the time that he was active in his business, he did become involved in a convict leasing scandal. And at one time it was alleged that Joe Brown said that he would lease the entire available population of convicts to the state of Georgia for $25,000 a year for a 20-year period of time. Some people didn't think that was exactly the right thing to do. But nevertheless, since his friend Alfred Hope Colquitt was governor of the state of Georgia, when John B. Brown in May of 1880 wanted to come back to Georgia to take a high-paying railroad job, the governor saw to it that he was put in the United States Congress. He stayed in the United States Senate as a senator during that period of time. From May 1880, he ran and was elected on his own, and he was there till March 4 of 1891, at which time he did not run again, and he died in 1894. But it's the United States Senators. It's interesting to note that when he was made senator after Gordon resigned his seat, that his good friend Benjamin Harvey Hill was a senior senator, and he was a junior to Hill. Of course, Hill didn't live too long after that, died in 1882 in office. And oddly enough, since they had a lock on this thing, Albert Hope Colquitt became United States Senator along with Joe Brown. When Joe Brown stepped down, well, Gordon came in. So here we ended up in 1891 with the Lieutenant General of the Confederate Army from the University of Georgia lawyer, and also a Princeton lawyer in the person of Alfred Colquitt, who was a major general. So we had two generals of the Confederate Army as our United States Senators. Joe Brown did not live too long after 1891, died in 1894, and he is buried in Oakland Cemetery. And also there is a statue of he and his wife on the grounds of the Capitol, which is an unusual statue since man and wife statues are not too common. And across the Capitol on the other side is old John B. Gordon on his horse. So this is the end of the story of Brown. There is no doubt that he was one of the greatest persons, and perhaps controversial in some ways, but on his epitaph on his tombstone it reads, "His history is written in the annals of Georgia." Thank you very much.
Members of the council, honored guests, and ladies and gentlemen. I stand before you today with somewhat mixed emotions. I can't help but have a feeling of pride being chosen the one to introduce our beloved governor. On the other hand, apprehension within me. For north of us, hostilities take place. Chattanooga has fallen to the enemy. The Army of Northern Aggression has made incursions into our state. We could not be in better hands than to be in the hands of Governor Brown. I believe that when General Sherman takes one or two more steps, we're going to send him reeling northward. He won't stop till he gets to the Canadian border. He'll have to stop there because they don't allow such rabble in Canada. Once again, we could not be in better hands. Governor Brown is a man of great character and compassion. He has wisdom and foresight. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have the high honor, distinct pleasure of introducing His Excellency, the Commander-in-Chief of the Army of our great state, the Honorable Joseph E. Brown. My thanks to you, Mayor Wynn, and to the good people of Marietta for according the signal honor of naming your beautiful park for me. I can only wish that we were living in better times, and that our fathers, husbands, and sons were not away in distant places engaged in fighting the northern aggressors in a terrible war to protect our state's rights, our southern customs, and our heritage. As you know, when the governor of the United States disregarded and attempted to trample upon the rights of the states, Georgia set its power at defiance and seceded from the Union rather than submit to the consolidation of all power into the hands of a central or federal government. Thus came the war. Only recently there's been a bitter, bloody battle at Chickamauga. Chickamauga is an old Indian word said to mean place of death. It certainly was the place of death for the 34,000 men on both sides who died there. A Southern victory at a terrible price. Even now, the federal troops are bottled up in Chattanooga, where they retreated after the battle. I am sure that among you today there are those who lost loved ones in the Battle of Chickamauga. Let us pray that no more bloodshed will take place in Georgia, and that the cruel war will soon be over. The soldiers are not the only ones who have suffered. You here at home have suffered many hardships. but it stood firm and braved the rigors of want and hunger. We must take new courage and look forward to the day when a better time comes and we can return to our natural way of life. Your beautiful park can for now be a place for peace, renewal, and comfort for your aching hearts. In happier times, it will offer a place for meditation and solace as we remember these dark days. Again, thank you for honoring me today. Remain steadfast and brave in your distress, and may God bless all of you.
Thank you, Governor Brown. We also have a member of our city council here, Marion Rigo, who I didn't introduce a while ago. And our mayor is still with us back over here, so if any of you want to say anything to him about this park, he's still with us here. At this time, it's my privilege to welcome the Zion Baptist Church Choir as they entertain us with some spirituals of that period of time. When we first started this park, it was my hope that people would use this little park for family reunions and family gatherings, and that those that had loved ones that were buried up in the 2 adjacent cemeteries would come here to find their ancestors and use this as a gathering ground. And today we have our first big family here, and that is the Brown family. And we want to thank each one of you that have come out this way. We have 2 groups who are working to restore the adjacent cemeteries. The city of Marietta is trying to restore the city cemetery, and we have a group that was recently formed that is trying to restore the Confederate cemetery. So if anybody in the audience would be interested in making any sort of contribution to either park, we certainly would appreciate it. We would like for all of the Brown members to stand now so that we can recognize you. If we have any out here in the audience that aren't seated, raise your hand. We want to see how many Browns we have here today. This is a great turnout. It's an honor for us today to dedicate this park here at the Gateway to our downtown Marietta in honor of your ancestor, Governor Joseph Emerson Brown. The park will officially be dedicated with a gun salute, and after the salute, we want to ask the members, if they will, to come and hit over on the west side of the park and help us plant a tree in memory.
Point. 5 paces forward. 1. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to move over this way. Right, without doubling, forward, mark. Prepare to halt. Halt. Front. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be firing in this direction. The back is going to move to the left, please.
We don't see me. We're going to get stopped.
Slow. In 9 times. Slow. Handle. Cartridge. Tear. Cartridge. Charge. Cartridge. Draw. Rammer. Ram. Cartridge. Return. Rammer. Prime. Shoulder. Arm. Ready. Aim. Fire. Recover. Arm. Low in 9 times. Low. Handle. Cartridge. Tear. Cartridge. Charge. Cartridge. Draw. Rammer. Ram. Cartridge. Return. Rammer. Prime. Shoulder. Arm. Ready. Ready? Ready? Rest.
Anybody beat
All right, Brown, listen up.
I feel mighty.
Grandmother and great-granddaughter. Right.
Can you see me? Can you see us?
Let's everybody. The lady in white hair is very back as far as the shoulders of the person in front of us.
See what?
Will not do.
Oh, you got your way in the back.
Yeah, come on, still in there. All right, take this Looking brown. Okay. Ready? All right, let me take a look at you. Put our roll through. Okay, here we go. Ready? And... Okay, and... Very good. All right. We'll wear that baby out. Hang on just a second. Ready? You want to put any? Sit down. Huh? Really?
Here you are.
Cousin or whatever. I'm Larry.
And where's Mo?
Where's Mo? I'm Larry. This is
I'm Helen Smith Couch.
I'm Larry Smith.
I'm Eleanor Hope Chrysler Babcock. My mother was Carolyn Ophelia Brown Chrysler. Excuse me, Brown Smith Chrysler. Smith Chrysler.
I'm Bill Smith. My father's name is Emerson Smith and mother's name Monty Smith.
I'm Nancy Smith. Oh, louder. I'm Nancy Smith.
Okay.
And I'm Bill's sister. Ann's sister, Larry's sister, Helen's sister.
Married to Maxwell.
And Eleanor's cousin.
I'm a cousin.
Double first.
Well, we double different kind of cousins. Okay, this is, I am Ann Louise Smith Nelson, sister to Nancy and Helen and Bill and Larry, and double cousin to this wonderful, sweet, precious person, Eleanor Prisoner Babcock. Well, she's kin to Browns, but I'll just call her
Daughter of Mary Brown.
Mary Brown.
Who was my grandmother. We're great-granddaughters and grandsons of John Brown, who was the uncle of Joseph Emerson Brown.
No, John Brown was first cousin. First cousin. Oh, and
Well, that is red color.
wait a minute. Here's
Wait a
his
minute.
picture.
You can get the picture.
Oh, let's have the picture.
This is my Eleanor and all of our great-grandfather John Brown.
Hold it this
He
way.
he was a first cousin to Joseph Emerson Brown.
Did you get that camera?
Yeah, that's very good.
This is 1, 2 testing.
That's John
Great-grandfather John Brown.
Okay, I'm glad you spoke up. So I could hear.
Great-grandfather.
Oh, great-grandfather.
He's our great-grandfather.
Great-grandfather.
Oh, then this is not his tree then.
No.
Yes, it's three.
No, this is brother. He's a first cousin to Joseph Emerson Brown.
And he's our great-grandfather.
I am so glad to know that. I tell you, now that we've got that all straightened out, that's just wonderful. Thank you, ladies and
Thank
gentlemen.
you, Mr. Babcock, for taking all this wonderful video.
We'll see, won't we?
And her middle name is Hope. My brother's wife's middle name is Faith. And charity means love, so all of us can say that we have
Faith, hope,
love.
and charity.
That's right. We're all.
The greatest of these.
We're all.
Turn it off. We're going.
This is Kennesaw Mountain Park. And I thought I'd take a picture as we drive by on our way home from the Brown Park Education. We're here in front of the Georgia State Capitol in Atlanta, Georgia. And we are here to record a picture of Joe Brown's statue of him and his wife. And this is the only statue of a governor and his wife in the whole country of the United States. Is that an amazing thing or not?
This is November 14, 1992. My name is Eleanor Hope Chrysler Babcock, a descendant of Joseph Emerson Brown. We are now looking at the state of Georgia seal, dated 1799. Wisdom, justice, and moderation. On the left, you see the American flag, and on the right, you see the Georgia flag. This is the back part of the statue. We will now move over to see a small depiction of the Civil War. Joseph Emerson Brown, as governor, was the governor during the Civil War. We are now looking on the side of the statue of Joseph Emerson Brown, governor during the Civil War. We are looking at the Battle of Kennesaw Mountain, dated June 27, 1864. This is the inscription on the statue of Joseph Emerson Brown. Joseph Emerson Brown, War Governor of Georgia. Patriot, statesman, Christian. Born April 15, 1821, died November 30, 1894. Governor of Georgia 4 terms, 1857 to 1865. Chief Justice, Supreme Court of Georgia, 1868, 1870. United States Senator from Georgia, 1880 to 1891. Founder of Charles McDonald Brown Scholarship Fund, University of Georgia. Wife, Elizabeth Grissom Brown. Wife of Joseph Emerson Brown. Born July 13, 1826. Died December 26, 1896. Devoted wife, loving mother, loyal patriot, Christian, and obedient to God.